Welcome to another exceptional episode of Extraordinary Ordinary Women. And I'm Margarita. Now, I'm excited to be able to share with you stories of ordinary women in our community, women who have had a dream or an idea and followed it through to fruition. Their stories will encourage you, uplift you, and hopefully inspire you to ignite the seeds of greatness within your heart. For it's through sharing that we come to realize that we are not Robinson Crusoe all alone on our own little island, but that there is, particularly now with social media, this network of truly amazing women who are eager to stretch out their hand with encouragement. I found this for myself when my life was turned upside down. And so it is my gift to those women to be able to pay forward the gift of encouragement to others. So without further ado, I have great pleasure in introducing you to Cherie. Now, I met Cherie when I visited her practice, Spinal Flow, for treatment. Her story was one of intrigue as she navigated the loss of a dream career and meandered her way into becoming a spinal flow practitioner. Cherie was a member of the Junior Youth Olympics rowing squad, which is for aspiring athletes under the age of 19, and is held, I didn't know this, after the main Olympics. So in 2000, Cherie found herself coming to Sydney with the rowing squad to compete in the Youth Olympics, where she qualified for the under-21 squad in 2001. And I omitted to say, Cherie comes from New Zealand. So she was destined for Germany to compete, was part of the development squad for the 2004 Beijing Olympics. And by using those words, you can guess what's coming up next. Well, just prior to leaving for Germany, she broke a rib, and there ended her dream career. Now, in hindsight, after several years, this hindsight of wisdom came, in hindsight, after facing the devastation of the loss of her dream career, Cherie saw that it was a blessing in disguise, that it was the forerunner of many events leading to her current and very fulfilling practice of spinal flow. Now, I found Cherie's story inspirational and the spinal flow technique for myself, nothing short of miraculous. So, hello and welcome, Cherie.
Hello, Margarita. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Now, Cherie, that's a pretty dramatic story, journey.
Yes.
It was when I was listening to it. I dare say
Yeah.
you were journeying through it. Can you take us back to the excitement of being part of the Olympic team as an Olympic rower?
Oh, it was very exciting. Obviously we're just like in the youth development team, but we still got to have the exact same row suits that the New Zealand 2000 squad had. So like the same as Rob Waddell, who was our idol back then, had the exact same row suit as him. So that was inspiring and amazing. And it was just a privilege. Like we trained really hard, we worked, we had this great little family. Yeah, it was really amazing.
And then you were destined for the 2004 Beijing Olympics.
Yes, so we were part of the training squad for that, which was great. And so once I suppose we made the 2001 squad for Germany, we were just training, 30 to 40 hours a week, which is a lot of training. And since this is my second year in a row, and we would have to train during winter to go over to Europe to row in their summer. So normally I would have the winter off and play hockey, but because I was in these squads, I trained all year round. And I think my body, I didn't understand how our body communicates with us and whispers and tells us little things. And I didn't listen to it. And so my body just decided that it didn't want to row anymore and enough was enough. And it would break my rib during a rowing session to make me stop. So it took a few weeks to figure out what had happened. Initially, we all sort of just thought I'd dislocated a rib or something else or a muscle spasm or something. But when they finally did the x-rays and seen that it was broken, yeah, they just said that my lats and my abs fatigued, and so my ribs went to act as a muscle because they don't bend or stretch. It just snapped. So that happened in about June, 30 days before we were ready to leave for Germany.
Wow.
So yeah, very heartbreaking to watch someone else hop in and take your seat that you had really been training for 2 years for. Um, and sort of you kind of watch like that rhythm's not there, that I was like the rhythm setter, so that watching the rhythm of the boat unsettle and not be as great. But I was very fortunate that I was still able to travel with the team, and go as a support person. I got to bike beside them as they rode the race, which was awesome but heartbreaking all at the same time. Um, but yeah, I'm very, very glad that I was still able to go and be a part of the experience.
So then talk to us about the events that followed that, health events and your journey to come to where you are now.
Yes. So then I tried rowing again. So in September, they were like, yep, you're all healed. You should be fine to start up again. So I was training again, and that was were part of that Beijing Olympic squad development. And then in December, my rib snapped again. And they were like, well, that's you done. Off you go. Goodbye. Nice to know you. Go and, do something different, which is, I suppose, like you say, it was that fork in the road that my body was like, well, this isn't really the right path for you, and you're going to find it. But I was quite lost and I didn't know what I was going to do. Um, I took a year off between finishing high school and starting university to try and work out what I was going to do. And I ended up deciding that I would do fashion design because I love to sew my own clothes and make everything from scratch. So I actually went to Christchurch and studied an advanced diploma in fashion design for 3 years, which I thoroughly loved. And I had some amazing job opportunities for pattern making for some good designers and stuff like that when I'd finished. But I just had this desire in me that I wanted to travel, that there was more in the world, and that little taste of going to Germany
Mm.
was, there was just more to be had, and New Zealand wasn't big enough for me anymore. So my dad was living in Walker, and he was a shearing contractor. And he said, why don't you come over to Australia? You can rouse about for 6 months, save all your money, and head off overseas. So I thought that sounded like a fabulous idea. So I jumped on a plane, headed over, met so many amazing people in Walker, absolutely loved the little town, and then met my husband about that 6 months. And so then I decided not to go overseas. And
As
I
you,
managed to convince him that we should like travel Australia. So we traveled Australia for a few years, just going from shearing shed to shearing shed. He's a shearer, if you didn't pick up on that one. And so, yeah, we traveled shearing shed to shearing shed, exploring all that Australia has to offer, other than the Northern Territory, because they don't really have sheep up there. And then we decided to live in a little town called Canamble, which is out sort of between Dubbo and Walgett. So we lived out there for 11 years. And when we decided to have children, I decided to do family daycare as my job because I couldn't find any daycare that I liked. So someone had said to me, why don't you do it? And I thought, well, yeah, I will. And I loved that. I did that for nearly 8 years. Had great families come through, and like, so just so proud that I got to give my children the exact upbringing and childcare environment that I wanted. And then sadly in 2018, my dad's wife passed away, and she was only 42. So it was very unexpected. And they lived over in Inverell, or by Inverell, Ashford. And so I was doing 50 to 60 hours a week with family daycare. And when they have two young children at the time who were 4 and 7. So our kids at the time were 2.5 and 5, I think. So much the same sort of ages. And my dad, being an older dad and trying to run a farm and all that, I, felt that pressure that I had to do it all for him and take on that role so that he could keep living his life. So yeah, I cut my family daycare business down to 3 days a week. So I'd work Tuesday to Thursday, and on Fridays we would drive over the 6 hour drive to my dad's, and I would cook and clean and make sure all his bills were paid and that all the kids had what they needed for school and everything like that. Then Monday would drive home and I would do my 3 days of family daycare, and then I'd get my house sorted over that weekend, and then back to the 3 days of family daycare, and then back to his house
and
the
we can
following
see
weekend. So I
what's
did
going
that
to,
for 18.
sorry, I was
Yeah,
going to say, and we can see what's going to happen here. Keep going.
yeah, yeah. I did that for 18 months, and my
Wow.
body was telling me so many
Yes.
signs. Like my hair was falling out. I was putting weight on, like didn't matter what I ate. The weight was just piling on. I was going to the gym now as well because I'm like, oh, I'm putting on weight. I'll start going to the gym 5 days a week. So doing intense workouts. I got plantar fasciitis in my foot. I had psoriasis, irritable bowel syndrome, incontinence. Like everything just kept flaring up, and everyone just kept saying it's normal. Like, you're a mum, you're busy, you're working. Like it's normal. Like, and I look back now and I'm like, it's not normal. It's common, but it's just not normal. And
Yes.
one thing I just want everyone to know, like, it's your body should be able to thrive through stress. We should be able to handle it and navigate it. And it's not normal when your hair is falling out or that can't go to bed before midnight. You should, there's so much that your body tells us that we're not taught to listen to our bodies.
And can I just
So
pause
yeah,
there?
yes,
Because you've touched on something really, really important. The difference between what's normal and what is common. And I just wanted to
yes,
highlight that point because we so
absolutely.
often are led down the track of this is normal when it's not. It's just common and there are other paths. Thank you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's a big passion of mine to make sure that people are aware of that and remember that. But yeah, so I carried on that for a while. Look, I remember just this day in family daycare, and I was looking after this baby, and she was probably about 9 months old, and I had 5 children in. And I remember walking down the hallway and seeing the bedroom door was open and where she should have been in asleep. And I put my head in and looked, and I was like, is she not in there? Where is she? And started to freak out a little bit. And then when I got down to the playroom, here she was. I'd already got her out and put her on the play mat, but I don't remember it. And that to me, I was just like, there's something really wrong right now. Like, I don't know what it is still. And you go to the doctor and they do blood tests and they're like, oh, all your bloods are in the normal range, so there's nothing wrong with you. But I remember, like with my thyroid, if I had one more number, so I can't remember what the number was, but if it had one more number to it, it was a 200 and something number. If it had one more number, I was out of the normal range and I had their illness. But because my number was one under, I was in the normal range, so there was nothing wrong with me. And you'd look at that and you just think everyone's failing you, or they don't, or they just want to mask your symptoms. And yeah, so then I said to my husband, look, I want to go back to New Zealand. I need help. I can't do this anymore. My body's falling apart. So I managed to convince him that we should move to New Zealand. So in 2019, the end of 2019, we did that just before COVID came in. And then we bought a lawn mowing and gardening business there, which I was like, oh, this will be great. I'm going to get so fit. I'm going to be walking every day. The weight's just going to fly off me because by this stage I'd put on 30 kilos and my body was, it just hurt all the time. But again, not understanding the nervous system and how the body communicates. My body, like I started to get bursitis in my shoulder and I got it in my hip. Then I had a Baker's cyst under my knee, all on my right side. Again, like all the symptoms that I had were even more accentuated. And then rosacea started to develop on my face, like to the point where it was crusty. And I was so tired that we weren't eating proper food because I couldn't be bothered cooking. I was using coffee to get me through the day, so 6+ cups of coffee a day. And yeah, then I remember watching a TV program and it was about rheumatoid arthritis. And I was like, oh, so many of those symptoms they're talking about is what I have. Like, I'd had TMJ, I'd all these things. And when I went to the doctor, I said, look, I have all these symptoms. I feel like I've got most of them, but I've got some more as well. And they did some blood tests and found out that I had a gene called HLA-B27, which is the genetic gene for ankylosing spondylitis, which is in sort of the rheumatoid arthritis family, and it causes your lower spine to fuse together and just chronic inflammation over your whole body. So they're like, oh, you'll have to go to the rheumatologist, and we'll start you on all these high dose anti-inflammatories, which were amazing. Like they took away every muscle spasm, because at this stage when I woke up in the morning, I was like in the fetal position crying because my body was in that much pain. When with ankylosing spondylitis, when you can't really sleep well comfortably, like you've got pillows all around you, and then when you wake up, you have about 10 minutes before everything just starts to spasm and seize, and yeah, you'd find yourself like the fetal position seems to release it all. So down in the fetal position, just crying and wondering what's going on. Like, and then once your body's warmed up, it kind of disappears, and then you're like, what's all that in my head? Like, how can I have been in excruciating pain and now I'm not? So yeah, the high dose anti-inflammatories are amazing. They took away the muscle spasms and all that. But then a few weeks later, I remember the first time I felt it, my heart, like it was like an earthquake in my chest, and it was just rattling. I was like, oh, like what is that? And then that kept happening. So then started researching all about the anti-inflammatories I was on, and yeah, definitely didn't like what it was telling me it was going to do to my body. And then the rheumatologist, he was like, oh, you'll need biologics and TFN inhibitors. And that's when we will do it all through an IVF drip every month. He's like, you'll feel great. You'll feel so amazing. And I never actually started them, which I'm so thankful for, because I did my research and I was like, oh, no, not me, not for me at all. And so I did a bit of research, and I came across this lovely Māori lady who was living where we were in New Zealand, and she came from a family of energy healers, and she did another type of energy healing called pure bioenergy healing, which she'd learned through an instructor in the UK. So I worked with her religiously. I committed to her thing, and I'd see her every week for 6 months. She got so much emotional releases out of my body, and I was starting to have energy again. I was I was still taking those anti-inflammatories because they did give me relief. And with working in a lawn mowing and gardening business where every muscle in your body is constantly under stress, I was like, I needed that relief. So I kept taking them, but I found, sort of looked back, and 6 months in, I realized I wasn't having them anymore. And I'd only had them if I had a really bad flare up, which generally came from the wrong types of food at this stage. And so, yeah, she was great. And then I kept working with her for a couple of years, but I didn't have to go as frequently because I'd kind of done that really intense groundwork for that 6 months. But then none of that really addressed the nervous system either. And I didn't really know about the nervous system. I don't think that's something we're taught, or, growing up, we know it exists. And so then actually my husband, he decided he wanted to move back that we should move back to New Zealand, not him by himself, sorry, Australia. And I was like, yeah, actually, I think I could go back to Australia. So I think I'd had this dream that we would move to New Zealand and we'd have this amazing, beautiful family life that I had had when I grew up with my grandparents, who were really just the best grandparents you could ask for in the world. But times have changed. Like, everyone's working, everyone's busy, and we didn't get to see my family as much as I had hoped. So I think it was really good that we did it, because if we didn't move back to New Zealand, I would still now think that we would have a better life in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So we made the choice that we'd come back to Australia, which meant another international move, which is quite liberating. If you ever get a chance to do it, you end up, well, for us, we literally got a suitcase each. That was all it is. So you get to pick what's important to you and put it into one suitcase. And yeah, so we came back to Australia, and I decided that I wouldn't work, that I would not just have a job for the sake of a job, that I needed to get my health back in check, that I couldn't go on the way I did. And then if I didn't change it now, that it would, be too hard. So I was 40 at this stage. You had my 40th birthday, and then we came back over. So yeah, it was really hard. I flipped a switch. I decided that I would be able to heal myself. I gave up coffee, because coffee was just not my friend. Not when you're having, it's okay, like 1 or 2 cups a day can be manageable, but 6 cups a day is not okay. And it was causing the rosacea on my face to be even worse. And then I was paying all this money to get facial treatments. And I was like, coffee was one of the main instigators. I decided to go alcohol. I didn't drink a lot, but I was definitely a binge drinker. So whenever we had a get together, I would, indulge and have way too many, which would just make you feel like rubbish for a week. And then you'd want, junk food and stuff like that as well, and feel like not exercising. So I gave up alcohol, gave up coffee. And I started working with a dietitian who gave me permission to eat carbohydrates. And as silly as that sounds, like, I had grown up with a mother who, dieted. And so therefore I dieted. I've done every diet out there that exists. And I thought eating carbohydrates was the worst thing you could do, because banana will make you fat, potato will make you fat, like all these foods, they make you fat. You can't eat carbohydrates and lose weight. So he gave me permission to eat carbohydrates and explained to me that I had to eat them, because that was what balanced my hormones, and that was what gave me energy and stopped me looking for sugary foods later in the day. So without even realizing, it's only just dawned on me in the last couple of weeks that what I was doing was showing appreciation and gratitude now to the carbohydrates that I was eating. Like, at every meal, I was literally saying, this is giving me hormone balance, this is giving me energy. These carbohydrates are nourishing my body. And I didn't realize I was doing it. And then I read something the other week that said when you show gratitude to your food, it can do amazing things for you. Just like if you eat junk food and you go, oh, I feel so fat and I feel so gross, or, like a moment on the lips, forever on the hips, those types of things. We're giving that intention.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So I learned, without realizing that's something that I've been doing over the last couple of years. But yeah, so when I decided to get my health back in check, the weight started coming off. I started feeling better about myself. I was exercising. And then I decided that when I first came over, I had this intention I was going to do a jewelry making course because I want to get creative and I want to make jewelry and set stones and do all this beautiful thing. But then I realized that I had to let other people know that they could heal their bodies too, that they didn't have to just listen to what the doctor said and accept it and try and get just mask symptoms, that they could actually heal themselves. So as my journey went through, my symptoms started to disappear. I am symptom free of everything that ankylosing spondylitis had. I don't have any of those symptoms. I imagine the gene is still activated. I don't know if that can be turned off. And if I let myself go, I would probably end up back in that situation with full-blown ankylosing spondylitis again. But as we speak now, I'm completely symptom-free of it. And a lot of that had to do with my mind. I stopped claiming it as mine. I didn't say my ankylosing spondylitis. I would just say, the ankylosing spondylitis that my body is experiencing is having a flare-up, or the rosacea on my face. So I think those little mind shifts really made a massive difference. I decided to prioritize.
The mindset is so important. I found that with my journey with cancer. It's the mindset there. So, Cherie, what was the step that took you into Spinal Flow?
So I did a quick short course in kinesiology first, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do kinesiology. I love the holistic health. And I didn't know a lot about Spinal Flow at this stage. But it's something I'd kept seeing, and I have always muscle tested on myself, like with kinesiology, and my body had always kept saying for quite a few years, even when we were in New Zealand, you should learn Spinal Flow. Spinal Flow is amazing for you to learn. But I sort of kept ignoring it and tried to override with conscious choices and not listen to my inner guidance. And so I did the short course in kinesiology, which was great. It just meant that I had to go up to Brisbane every 3 weeks and do 5 practical days, which I personally was a huge fan of. My family, however, were not. And so I did the 4 months of it. And then if I wanted to continue on the diploma, it would have been 2 years of full-time study and continuing to go up for 2 years. So we decided that, we would wait and I would do it when the kids are older or something like that. And then I just kept going more and more with the Spinal Flow. And then there's a lady in Guyra who does Spinal Flow as well, Karen. And talking with her, started having the sessions, feeling amazing. And then I hadn't really had a lot before I decided that, yes, I was going to full-heartedly commit to it. When I went to the immersion, so when you decide to do it and you have to go and do 7 days of training from 8:30 to 5:30 for 7 days in a row. And you work in pods of 3. So you have 3 Spinal Flow sessions done on you a day. And then you obviously give 3 Spinal Flow sessions as well. So over the 7 days, I had 21 Spinal Flow sessions. And I felt amazing. My body could move. I had freedom. I was taller, just so much in my body. And I think because I had done a lot of emotional releasing work already, and I had got back into this low tox living, so I wasn't stressing my body out with chemical overload and bad food and all that. My journey was quite joyous, and I just felt empowered and more energy, and beautiful things were happening. There were definitely people there who had not or didn't live that lifestyle, and their journey through the 21 sessions was hard to watch. They had emotions and they had pain and discomfort. But everyone at the end of that 7 days just felt phenomenal, and the changes were amazing. Then I was just absolutely sold on it, 100%. This is how I'm going to show up to the world and inspire people and let people know that there's another way, and that the nervous system is the key to it all. Once you address the nervous system and get that under control, there's so much more in life that you can do and live. And
Well, I have found that for myself, and the people I've sent to you have also found that for themselves. So it is really an amazing journey. It's an amazing healing process, isn't it?
absolutely.
So usually my next question is, what are some of the challenges you face? I think you've addressed a few of those already.
Yes, sorry, I do like to talk.
No, it's a really important aspect to get your story out there, because it's almost like 20 years of your story to get to where you are now. And you've
Absolutely.
healed yourself not only with the spinal flow, but with the mindset, the gratitude, and a whole host of things. And to be able to share that with people so that, you know, they're able to open their minds and make decisions for themselves is very important. So in your journey, my gosh, in this journey of navigating to where you got to where you are now, what would be the reward? What would be some of the rewards that you've experienced?
Oh, like I wouldn't change my journey at all because I don't think I would be here if I hadn't. And a friend actually said to me she's just got her life sorted out too and finally decided what she's going to do. And she was like, "Don't you wish we'd worked it out 20 years ago?" And I was like, "No, because we wouldn't have the same appreciation or the same knowledge." Like people come in, I'm like, "Oh, yes, I've had that symptom. Oh, yes, I've been there and I've done that." And I feel like, I've lived this life to get to here because then I've got the first-hand knowledge of what,
Yes.
majority of my clients are going through.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I wouldn't change any of that at all. Um, I can't even remember what your original question was. Sorry, what was it?
Oh. And can I just pause there, because there is a saying, you can't put a wise head on young shoulders. And it wasn't until just actually, I don't know, a couple of months ago that that saying registered what it actually meant. And it's just exactly what you've said. It's those years of experience that make you the person of where you are right now. And you need those years. So, yes. So, my question was, what are some of the rewards that have
Um,
from this journey?
yeah. So obviously, like the rewards is experiencing all those things, even though they weren't nice to experience, but it's given me the knowledge. But to be where I am now, like I don't just feel physically lighter, but I'm like emotionally lighter. Like the weight has literally been lifted off my shoulders. I have energy. I live a really active life with my children now. I'm like I can get out and play sports with them. All these things that I couldn't do before. I'm really passionate about the low tox living. So, we're right in the full swing of that again, and making nourishing and nutritious food. And yeah, but I suppose I just love to inspire people. So I think that's the biggest reward, is that I can inspire people to try and find, let them know that there's a better way to live. And if you just have to make the mind switch. And the mind's hard. Like the mind, the ego, it wants to talk us out. It doesn't want to eat healthy or exercise and do all these things. So you have to try and override it.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So briefly, we just need to keep going here. What would you like to share if I were asking you what words of wisdom just before we close?
That you have everything inside you that you need to heal. Your body is full of innate wisdom. It knows exactly what to do. You just have to give it the right environment. And once you're ready to make that step and make that choice, which isn't easy in the beginning, but it happens. You keep showing up for yourself every day, and you too can have the life that you want.
Thank you. That's so important and so wise. So thank you for sharing your story with us today. And I'll just make a note that to contact you for Spinal Flow, the details will be in the description box below. And I look forward to sharing another episode of Extraordinary Ordinary Women with you all. God bless. Thank you, Cherie.